Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Post-Morning Show. I'm your host, rdizzle408, with my co-host, ML. Today is Friday, July 18th, 2025. Today's topic, Syria, followed by Colbert is out, and we may revisit topics from earlier in the week, looming NPR cuts, etc., followed by whatever is on folks' minds. You like that? I'm working on my Trump gestures. But first, a much-needed history of Syria and the region and qualifier. Shemitic from Shem, Japhetic from Japheth, Shem and Japheth, along with Ham, being sons of Noah. Shemitic would become the Semitic languages. Japhetic would come to be known as the Aryan languages. From Genesis 10:22, we learn of Shem's sons, Elam, Iran, Asshur, Assyria, Arpachshad, Akkadia, Lud, Lydia, Western Turkey, and Aram, Syria, and Mesopotamia, aka Iraq. Description, link is in the description. Aram is Syria. Source, various Bible translations of Isaiah 7:5, Bible Hub, link in the description. Now to Deuteronomy 26:5. And thou shalt speak and say before the Lord thy God, a Syrian ready to perish was my father, and he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few and became there a nation great, mighty, and populous. From the King James Bible. Arpachshad to Shelah, Shelah to Eber. Eber, patriarch of the Hebrews or Trans-Euphratian race, the name Eber really meaning one who lives beyond a river. Amharic, a Semitic language spoken in Ethiopia, is derived through the ancient Hebrew-Arabic Arabic of Yemen. Source in the description. Josephus, a Jewish historian, linked Arpachshad to Araf, which is identified with modern Kirkuk, Iraq. Ancient Arafka was part of Sargon of Akkad's Akkadian Empire and later became the capital of the Gutian Empire. Some sources suggest that the latter part of Arpachshad's name might be related to the term Chaldeans, who were a Semitic people living in Mesopotamia. Ramson of Akkad would be the Ram of the Ramayana, Hammurabi of Assyria, the supreme lawmaker. The originator of the law would be Ravan of Lanka. Syria would be the throne of Indra. Indra being the title for whoever occupies the Syrian seat of power. That's my last bit there. From this ancient history, we move towards the present through the timeline of Syrian rulers. From 1800 to 1200 BC, Kingdom of Ebla, 1200 to 539, Assyrian and Babylonian empires, 539 to 332, Achaemenid Persian Empire, 332 to 301, Alexander the Great, 301 to 64, Seleucid, 64 to 636 CE, Roman, then Byzantine Empire, 636 to 1918, Islamic Caliphate with a notable Kurdish ruler, Saladin, who ruled both Syria and Egypt from 1137 to 1194. Now then, 1918 ushered in a brief Arab kingdom. Arab troops led by Emir Faisal captured Damascus after Ottoman defeat. And from March 1920 to July of 1920, King Faisal of Iraq briefly reigns as king of Syria until French forces depose him following the San Remo Conference. 1920 to 1946, we have a French mandate. The modern state of Syria was established following the end of Ottoman rule when the region became a French mandate, Syrian gaining full independence from France in April 1946, marking the foundation of modern-day Syria as a sovereign nation. Then we have the union with Egypt. Nasser rules as head of state. 1963, the Ba'ath Party seizes power. Amin al-Hafiz, Naruddin al-Atassi, then the Assads, first Hafez, then Bashar. For comparison, modern state of Israel was founded in 1948. All right, in summary, Syria has been ruled by ancient empires, a brief Arab monarchy, French colonial oversight, military coups, union with Egypt, and 63, the Assads, and now the present situation. Syria is home to a diverse mix of ethnic groups, Arabs, including Alawites, Sunnis, Shias, and Druze, Kurds, Turkmens, Circassians, Assyrians, Syriacs, I already mentioned Druze, Yazidis, Mandians, and more. But democracy and revolution brought about Al-Qaeda. Yay! Bolpatuki, Al-Jalani was installed by whom? Now to the recent past. Okay, almost done, folks. Whistleblower exposes how NATO's leading ally is arming and funding ISIS. This is an article from Medium. Turkey's intelligence chief, Hakan Fidan, named as member of terror group linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Next article, sarin gas material sent to ISIS from Turkey, claims NP Aaron Erdem. This is from the Belfast Telegraph. It's a high probability that this attack was carried out with those basic materials shipped through Turkey. It is said the Assad forces are responsible, but the indictment says it's ISIS. UN inspectors went to the site, but they couldn't find any evidence. But in this indictment, we found the evidence. We know who used the sarin gas, and our government knows it too. This is Erdem in the Turkish parliament. He says the basic materials for the sarin gas would have been sourced in Europe. Next article. Rogue game in Syria claims Ankara worked with US and UK to smuggle Gaddafi's weapons to jihadi fighters, and Jabhat al-Nusra aided by Turkish intelligence in the sarin gas attacks. This is again from the Belfast Telegraph, link in the description. Al-Nusra may sound familiar. That's the group al-Jilani headed up. United States Secretary of State John Kerry and its UN ambassador Samantha Power have been pushing for more assistance to be given to the Syrian rebels. This is despite strong evidence that the Syrian armed opposition are more than ever dominated by jihadi fighters similar in their beliefs and methods to Al-Qaeda. The recent attack by rebel forces around Latakia in northern Syria, which initially had a measure of success, were led by Chechen and Moroccan jihadis. Now, folks, before I open up the discussion, forget about the Epstein files for a moment. The real scandal is Al-Qaeda was installed atop Syria. This is like convincing folks that the true Christians are represented by David Koresh, the Branch Davidian cult, and David Koresh now leads the USA. And hey, that's what just those Americans want. What do we know about it? America's not that old anyway. It's just a mishmash of conquered lands. Probably best to break America up into pieces. A Mexican part, a black part, a Catholic part, a Protestant part, and a catch-all for the rest of the losers. No, this wouldn't be good for America, and it won't be good for the Middle East. What do y'all think? Joshua Johnson, with your hand up, sir.
Raul.
It's all sourced, sir. I didn't make anything up.
Okay. I feel like maybe starting a conversation about Syria with a Old Testament and Bronze Age history.
You say Bronze Age, I dispute that
unnecessary.
term. It's a derogatory term.
Okay, all right. So how about this? What's going on in Syria, and why did Israel intervene?
Currently.
I can answer that.
Please.
Love it, Haley. Please.
So this is from the reporting that I found from the Israeli side. And I don't know if anybody here listens to Chaviv Retegul. He's an Israeli. He talks about the conflict all the time. He's one of the best Israeli podcasters around. So I recommend everyone to listen to his most recent podcast because he has a Druze Israeli on there who kind of explains the situation from the Druze standpoint. Basically what I know happened a couple of days ago. There was a type of not war, but there was a conflict between the Bedouins and the Druze that live in the village of Sadwia, so something like that. They started firing at each other. Bedouins apparently managed to kidnap some Druze and keep them hostage. It's families or tribes having conflicts for decades and decades and hundreds of years already. So they were having some kind of conflict. It kind of got a little bit out of control. From what I know, Giuliani sent troops to this village, and basically these people started massacring the Druze. There are a lot of videos.
Giuliani's government troops did.
Yes, the Syrian army, quote unquote, his troops. They started massacring, humiliating, doing unspeakable things to the Druze community in in Syria. And the reason why Israel has has a hold in Syria right now is because of the Druze. The Druze population in Israel and the Israelis, our relationship was basically forged in fire, is what I've heard over the last few days. Many, many, many Druze Israelis serve in the army. They have died for the country. They are some of the best military officials that we have in the IDF. So they felt as if the IDF and Israel owed them this debt to try and help the Syrian Druze. And for once in the history of Israel, the Israelis agreed that they do owe this debt to the Druze community and for all of the things that they've done for our country. So what I know is about 2 or 3 days ago, the Druze in the north of Israel, most of them live on the border with Syria. They tried to get through the border and basically go to the nearest village and try and like defend the Druze that were being massacred there. And the IDF basically let them break through the border and go into Syria, like about 1,000 Druze. Now I know that the firing is stopped. Like Julani pulled out his troops, so like the massacring has stopped, and the fire between the Bedouins and Druze has also stopped. So it's like a quiet peace, right? Tense peace right now. But basically, Israel was striking in Syria because they were trying to make a point to Jelani. We're not going to take this. We're not going to take you massacring our brothers and sisters, or the Druze brothers and sisters. And that strike that everybody saw in the palace or whatever was like a warning strike or a warning shot. And to his credit, he pulled back his troops and left. So, I mean, he blamed Israel, of course, but he did stop. So that was the reason, the only reason for Israel strikes in Syria. And I also think they're trying to minimize the weapons and the ammunition that Jelani has. It's very tense right now, but it all has to do with the Druze and the fact that the Druze begged the IDF to help out, and the IDF, for once in our history, agreed.
Haley, do you think that we'll see further engagement around this issue?
It all depends what Jelani does. It really all depends. If he decides to keep going after the Druze, yes, the Israel will. I think
okay,
probably.
But this is where I'm going to interject, Joshua. The last 10 years of inciting jihadis, right? It's like if people were to come into this and have no idea about the past, they would not know that Al-Qaeda is now the Syrian Arab army, and that these fanatics have been brought in for year upon year, right? People like me, whose parents were very modern, but now have gone into a backward dress. And what we often hear is, why do they vote for these, Hamas? How can people hate Hamas? How can they be? Well, you have a neighbor who was repeatedly rejecting Hamas, repeatedly rejecting fanatics. And then we say, well, Assad, he was a dictator. If your choices are between the Branch Dravidian cult and Trump, you're going to pick Trump every time, right? I mean, this is why I get very, I guess, a little personal about it, because people go, well, that's just their culture. They want the jihadis. Does anyone?
Ro, who's saying that? Like you're making your own, like you're making your own straw man argument, because literally nobody's saying that, least of all me. I fought Al-Qaeda in Iraq, so I'm no fan of Al-Qaeda. And I understand the geopolitical realities of dealing with Arab Republic strongmen, strongmen leaders in the Middle East, in North Africa. No, I understand that. I'm not making an argument. Actually, I'm not making an argument at all. I'm just asking questions about Israel's involvement in Syria. So I don't know.
Well, okay, I guess another on the Druze situation, it's that basically with al-Jilani, with a fanatic, he can be led by the nose. And so then he's incited to attack one group. Then Israel's going to come in, as the savior. But Israel was also providing medical aid to these jihadis back in 2012, right? I've been meeting, Haley, you're on the show. I'm sure you caught me on Twitter tagging you about that, right? So, I mean, I just want to
Israel provides medical assistance to almost it's like, I don't even think it's from the IDF. It's like a nonprofit organization that goes out and will literally offer medical assistance to like anybody in need. So there are things.
This was the Vice footage that traveled with the IDF to rescue al-Nusra fighters that were wounded by the Syrian Arab army.
Like I said, Israel goes into all types of different. I don't understand why, but I think it's just the fact that we will help anybody who's in need.
Well,
I think that's right. Absolutely not. But that's just what I know from usually when natural disasters, things like that happen. No matter what country it is, they're always offering to send medics and people, nurses and things that will help, even if it's an enemy country. They do always offer. Sometimes they actually go. So I don't know if it's that situation is the same.
I'm referencing the Mehdi Hassan interview with the former Mossad director, but when the director was asked about Hezbollah, he says, no, we have a very different account with them because Hezbollah has attacked Israel directly, whereas Al-Qaeda hasn't. And then the response from Mehdi Hassan was, well, Al-Qaeda has attacked the USA, your benefactor. Shouldn't that count? And he said, well, no, it's a different file. So when we had AJ Edelman on, right, and I was trying to say, look, there's a Muslim Brotherhood umbrella. He goes, no, it's Qatar, this, that. I said, I was trying to come from my background where I feel like this idea that, oh, here's the good jihadi sect versus the bad jihadi sect, and let's move them around on the chessboard is a regressive, intellectually retarded idea, right? That different sects will battle each other, just like SCIU and AFSCME in the labor. We will fight each other. We fought each other in the labor movement, but then we will unite when it's convenient. So this idea that, well, we're rescuing Al-Qaeda for humanitarian purposes. I mean, Joshua, does that fly to you? Is that a humanitarian thing here?
I don't think you're asking me a question that's based on. Let me clarify your premise. Your premise is that Israel is rescuing Al-Qaeda?
In 2012, during the so-called Arab Spring, right, when Turkey led the invasion on Syria, Israel chose to, when there were fighters getting wounded on the southern part, Al-Qaeda fighters would get wounded by the Syrian Arab army, and the IDF would come in and rescue them and provide them medical aid, rather than letting the very jihadis, takfiris, right? I mean, let me get this straight. We're talking about Israel attacking Al-Qaeda now to defend the Druze. 10 years ago, Israel was rescuing Al-Qaeda.
But 10 years ago, it was a very different situation in Syria.
It was an absolutely very different situation. Hold on. Okay. In 2010, we saw the start of the Syrian civil war, okay? This has been the longest civil war, which literally just ended this year.
Civil war implies also that it's actually local, like in America, when we had a civil war.
No, we had plenty of interveners in the American Civil War.
How many foreign troops?
Foreign interveners.
I think I know there were Irish Fenians on both sides.
We've had foreign troops engaged in the American Revolution. We had foreign troops engaged in the Civil War. The British were on the side of the Confederate States of America. I don't, I mean, it's going to be majority Americans in the Civil War, and it's going to be majority of Syrians in the Syrian Civil War. But the issue with Syria is, with Turkey, intervening in the Syrian Civil War, Turkey and Syria both have a quote unquote Kurdish problem. I mean, I see
these statements are made as facts that, when Kevork Amassian was interviewing an Assyrian gentleman, and they're like, we grew up with Kurds, Muslims. We didn't have this situation where there's Joshua, what I'm trying to point out is international people will say, oh, America, you have a race problem. And all the whites hate the blacks. And it's like, no, that's not really the situation. But people take it as face value.
I'm talking about state action, right? Obviously, I'm not Turkish. Last time I checked, okay? I don't sound Turkish. I'm not Turkish. I'm not Syrian, believe it or not. Genetically, I am 0.3% sub-Saharan African, so maybe I can comment more about Rwanda and the DRC. But I'm simply trying to get at, what is the intervention in Syria now? Has Syria simply traded an Alawite strongman for an Al-Qaeda?
Well,
yeah, right, yeah.
That's like
an
saying
Alawite strongman for an Al-Qaeda strongman. What is this going to do to, maybe future Abraham Accords? What is this going to do to Syria's relationship with the greater Middle East and the greater international community moving forward? Like that's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in Sargon of Akkad. I'm not interested in the successors of Alexander. I'm not interested in the Seleucids. I'm just simply, I mean, we can talk about the Muslim Brotherhood for sure, like the Muslim Brotherhood that sprang up in the I don't know, the 80s and really tried to gain a lot of traction in the Arab Spring. But
well, Egypt,
it
goes back to Nasser, but
Tunisia, Muslim Brotherhood started in Tunisia. And
Cairo, I thought.
Tunisia, Muslim Brotherhood started in Tunisia.
What year?
So,
but yeah, I mean, look, that overlay of fundamentalism, I understand, but I'm
well, okay, because
I'm
in the
trying
YouTube
to set
chat,
that aside.
But see, hold on. But the reason I'm pushing back is because in the YouTube chat, the call is break up Syria. We need ethnic states, as if Syria hasn't existed as a continuous region. The modern state of Israel, 1948. Syria goes back further, and so this idea to just break it up, what's the difference between Hamas saying break up Israel? So I'm trying to then step back and say, if folks had said, David Koresh, he's the true Christian, would anyone here take that seriously? David Koresh, Branch Dravidians?
Yeah, no, of course not.
No, but Al-Jilani, the idea that folks can, like, forget about Trump said, oh, Epstein, who cares about that? I mean, it's the same thing to say, oh, Al-Jilani, he shook hands with Al-Jilani. I understand why Trump had to do it, but that idea that you can take the people who we claim attacked us on 9/11, give them a corporate dusting, shave their beard a little bit, put them in a suit. Surely this is...
We do that all the time, and we have done that all the time. That's sort of how international relations works.
We made a deal
so
we made a deal with the Taliban.
I wanted to mention something about the Abraham Accords, Joshua, because you mentioned it.
Yeah.
What I think is like what people don't understand, like people probably freaking out, being like, Israel is bombing Syria. How could they, how could there be a peace agreement in like a few weeks? But like, like everyone, when they talk about the Middle East, like nobody is taking into effect like the Middle East culture here is like the fact that Israel can be bombing Syria while at the same time, negotiating some kind of entry, into the Abraham Accords is like the whole thing in and of itself. You have to be a strong man in this region. Like, do I think you have to massacre your citizens? Of course not. Obviously, Israel does that without, being a strong man, without doing that. So like you have to be able to show your strength because nobody's going to respect you in this region if you don't. So the fact that the bombing is happening and like, there's some kind of fighting going on doesn't at all impact the Abraham Accords and Syria, in my opinion, and most probably in like what Israelis think, because like I said, everybody's a strong man. Everybody needs to be showing their strength at all times here. So it's very plausible that they could be striking and talking at the same time.
Okay.
Because it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the peace agreements between Israel, like they were all forged in fire, So.
Well, sure. Yeah. You got to still have that sort of pressure.
Absolutely.
The
only place that isn't working,
to force people to the soft power table.
The only place that isn't working is Gaza. So.
Yeah.
Okay, but again, this 10 years of Assad must go, that only played into the hands of the very people that caused the massacre on October 7th.
Yeah, you're right. And so
then to just...
But October 7th...
Again,
October 7th wasn't... it wasn't because of... I tried to explain why the intelligence was... We put everything into Iran. For 15 years, we put all of our intelligence assets into the Iran problem and we scaled back.
Okay. I'm going to get to Dean here, but this is where I'm trying. The main block I see is Arabs. They see Pahlavi like folks see Assad, meaning the Arab, Pahlavi is a joke. Assad's a joke. And the Arabs and Persians can't get together because they've been both told that their respective leaders, it should be obvious when you see the photos of how folks were living under Assad or Pahlavi, that it was a modern society back then. Dean from Ohio, please.
Yeah, I'm just coming in as a palate cleanser. I'm enjoying the conversation here and the attempt by all sides to, Raul, I can see this is a tough subject for you, and I appreciate you're trying to host and be an advocate in here as well. I think you're doing a pretty good job, Josh. I think I appreciate the restraint. I can see you're here, and I can see everybody's here for true understanding with a little side of peace. I don't understand. I put you guys know I go to Grok. I should start with the in summary paragraph rather than everything else. That was the question that I had about the peace accords. How does this affect the actual peace accords and or the Abraham Accords? And what's the and what Haley says rings true to me, that everyone is coming. That's everyone. Table stakes is everyone is strong. If they're not, someone's going to take advantage of that. I don't completely understand why they went in. I don't understand why our media is not, especially on the heels of what just happened in Iran, why we're not seeing more of this in the media, and frankly, more of the Epstein files. It drives me a little bit crazy. But no, I'm glad I can come here and get a break from Epstein and get at least a little bit more understanding of what's happening in the Middle East.
Thank you for that, Dean. Appreciate that.
I'm not a moral absolutist. After the United States practiced 20 years of hard power foreign policy, moral absolutism, I'm not anti-military. I'm not anti-America. I'm not anti-democracy, but I'm definitely not a moral absolutist. So I understand that it's not enough to say that we live in a world of norms, or we live in a world of state, like a world that has a community of states. Like, there are regional norms. And the idea that Muslim majority countries in the Middle East need a strong man, and it's a cultural norm for them to have a strong man. It was a cultural norm for them to have a strong man since the Arab conquests. So if we want to go back to history,
but is the strong man the one who believes women should have to cover their hair, or the one who says women can live like Western women do?
Right.
It depends. Andre, why are you still here? Why aren't you sleeping? Do you have a cot in your office? I bet you do.
Yeah.
I had a cot in my office when I worked for Big Law.
I don't sleep anymore. It's all gone.
Ah, okay.
Man
I
runs
have
on
missed
coffee.
you, Andre, by the way. I have missed you. I've been away from this platform because I've been working a lot, but I have missed you. Please send me an email, Andre, so we can discuss the English school.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you.
Yeah, but a strong man is someone with the means and the ability to use power to control their populations, period. Whether that's the Shah, whether that's Assad, whether that's
I don't know what they did. All Shah said, Pahlavi,
Mohammed bin Salman.
All he said is we use CIA compromise tactics, meaning if there's a bad guy, we get him in a sex honeypot trap, right? Like, we're not,
Right,
Pahlavi
yeah.
wasn't waterboarding folks.
We're not, but we're not talking about the Iranian coup, are we? Or
Because
the Iranian
it's
Revolution?
like, if I mention Shah, oh, it's Savak. Assad, it's like,
No,
oh,
who
the
said
barrel
that?
bombs.
Who said that?
But the strongman implication, I'm trying to draw out, like, I guess if Trump is a strongman, fine. Assad, I'll take it. I'll take it as a positive for Assad and Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein and Pahlavi and whatnot, right?
Mubarak in Egypt, Anwar
Sure.
Sadat,
But
Al-Sisi.
the irony of the strong men being the feminists.
What are you
And
talking about, Raul?
I'm talking about that the names we just mentioned have no issue with women showing their hair. So look, I'm not Muslim here. I want to bring someone who is born and raised Muslim, and let's see what he has to say about this. Shamsul from Kuala Lumpur, please.
Holy shit, he trapped me again. Okay, I will say this though, Josh, to your point, right? To your point on needing a strong man, it's not a question of whether it's an Islamic regime or otherwise. That's not necessarily the case.
Agreed.
Because that's not necessarily the case at all, in my opinion. The question is more at what point in the society's evolution are we looking at? Because if we look at the Middle East and you look at Asia, Islamic regions, it's completely different, right? And there's various reasons to that. Can I, Rahul? Can I plug a bit my Gut Shot podcast, because we're gonna talk about this issue.
Great.
Okay, I want to let you guys know that the podcast between me and my friend Chuang, the Gut Shot podcast, Gut Shot 2-word podcast, episode 4 dropped early this week, which is on Rubio Strip in KL. Tariff talks, US-China dynamics, and what I see as the mind of Donald Trump. Basically from our perspective, mine from a corporate business and Chuang from finance veteran. Try and catch it, guys. It's long form, but we also have shorts that we schedule around the week. So that we dropped last Tuesday. But look at it as hanging out and have the unique perspective from corporate Asia and Muslim background. Next Monday, you guys gonna love it even more, which is associated to this topic that you guys are talking about. We have episode 5, our first guest, which I taped this morning. The guest is Syed Akbar Ali. He's the biggest blogger in Malaysia. He wrote one of my favorite book, Malaysia and the Club of Doom.
No, Shamsul, you got muted there.
Being banned in Malaysia in 2016. Okay? Yeah, he has been a watcher for the Middle East region for a long time. We tape a 2-hour long. We'll be discussing Middle East, political Islam, Iran, Palestine, jihadist influence over the region, and the dynamics with Israel. So you guys will get a perspective you will never hear anywhere else. I guarantee you that. So hope you guys can catch episode 4 and next week 5. I think you guys will enjoy it. Rahul, thanks for giving the time to talk about this. Thank you.
Yeah, Shamsul, drop those links in the description. Daryl, please.
Yeah, Shamsul, you're on here. I want to ask you about your, any thoughts you had on some of the trade deals that have been coming through. I know we just signed one with Indonesia.
Right.
Seems like a very advantageous deal for us. What's going on in Malaysia? Are they trying to do a deal like similar to that? What are your thoughts?
In Malaysia, the deal is already done. When Trump sent out the letter, he basically put. The negotiations were ongoing, and they were not happy with the negotiation, how the negotiation went. Initially, the tariffs put on Malaysia was 24%. The final letter from Trump was 25%. So basically, he's telling our guys, we're not happy with you all. Now, 25%, if you ask me, I'm being completely objective in the sense that I'm not taking the Malaysian perspective or I'm taking the US perspective. I'm looking at it purely from a corporate standpoint and purely from how I see a dynamic between two countries, different markets, and what you should expect to happen. Well, we have very high tariff barriers, non-tariff barriers, especially in Malaysia. So if you ask me at 24%, and going to 5%, and compared to Indonesia, how much did you say just now, Daryl? I think it was 19, isn't it? I remember.
Well,
I just can't recall right now.
My understanding is it's 0% going into United, or 0% for stuff from America going in, and then I don't know the exact number, 20 something coming out, and then 40 if it's like a pass through.
Yeah. So if you ask me, actually, Indonesia has done a better job at negotiating and lowering their tariffs that was initially imposed on them compared to what we have done on our side. On our side, I know the biggest problem that we face is we have non-tariff barriers that are associated with monopolies, that are a quota-based system that is more like a DAI type of environment, right? So that has been going on for more than 50 years. And really, as a Malaysian, I would have liked to see it go away. But politically, I think our government doesn't seem to think that they can get away with it. So I think that's their biggest problem in terms of negotiating to lower down our non-tariff barriers. Let's put it this way. It is so simple to actually bring down tariff barriers for the United States to bring imports into Malaysian, for example, cars. But even that, we couldn't do it. So we end up with 25%. So as you can see, I see that every country, the way that the Trump administration is handling has been quite a unique negotiation based on each country, based on each region. In my opinion, they've been very, very detailed about how they've gone about it. I'm quite impressed, to be honest.
Okay, guys.
Daryl, does that answer your question?
All right, guys. Before we shift into this, I just want to close out on the controversy that is Syria, right? And why did I go into Joshua says Iron Age text, right? The way when we talked about Ukraine history, right? Andre went to the Vikings, right? I think it's important for folks to have a sense of their history. Otherwise, you're going to be lost in it. So before I close out, Peter joined a little late. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to comment there on Syria or not, Peter. You can pass. If not, we'll move forward.
I mean, there's a lot you could say. Without the context of what specifically was discussed, I think I'll take a pause on that for
this. Take the pause. Okay. I'll just wrap it up by saying this, okay, that rather than seeing Arab culture as something so foreign, just try the golden rule, okay, and treat Arabs, Persian as we would want to be treated. See the ridiculousness of cults like the Waco cult. Realize fanatics, right? The whatever, it's the same thing. No one wants that, okay? My generation didn't want that. The parents were modern, but my generation, my compatriots, they've adopted the old type of garb. And even I had a phase like that in high school, right? It's a weird phase that, we go through. So, Dean?
Raul, yeah, I was going to ask, you mind if I ask just a process question, not related to this?
Sure.
And Andre, I'm going to direct this towards you, and you're welcome to wave off. What I'm just going from a meta level here right now, and I'm trying to think. We had some fun in a previous show about what would Andre say? How would Andre approach this?
What would Andre do?
Yeah, what would he do? And I'm wondering, just from Andre, from your mindset when it comes to talking to folks that might not have as good of understanding as Ukraine, the war that they have going on currently with Russia. So people are coming to this at certain levels of education and listening to certain factions in the media or whatever. How do you remain? I've got to imagine you're pretty resolute in your beliefs on the subject. How do you stay so calm probably similar to what we saw in the main show today with Mark. How do you stay so calm and move on and make your points? Do you have some frame that you're coming from, or that you start with, or a mindset? Do you have anything any insights you can share in your sleepless state?
For all of you, I've said this before. I'm fried. I just don't have the energy to to engage on deep rabbit holes sometimes. And so the easiest thing to do is, the old Joe Torre precept of let's just get one run on the board, and then let's see if we can get it to half the deficit, and then let's see if we can tie the game, and then let's see if we can get one run to win the game. So so I'm happy if people can just open their eyes to the possibility of what they've been hearing online is possibly not the entire picture. I am ecstatic when I have people come and visit Ukraine. Keith Kellogg is currently in Ukraine, and he's got permission to go to the front line as opposed to in February this year. So I'm just I just try to do tiny increments. Otherwise, I crossed over into Ukraine in March of 2022 when nobody said that was a good idea, and at that point, major airports were being blocked by the Russians. There was not really a good sentiment of where we're going forward, and you can't be overwhelmed with it. So that to me is how I approach overwhelming arguments going the other way. Just see if we can come to an agreement on just basic one part of something, and then move on from there. I just did a session at the UN this week at the last minute because they didn't have a moderator. So they were like, Andre, you can talk about sustainable development. Sure. I've done it 15 times before. So at the end, there may not be a lot of actionables to go forward, but we did bring 15 representatives from 15 countries together to talk about armed conflict and how we continue upgrading certain development goals in different countries. There was a wonderful intervention by a young woman who was doing some kind of Palestinian-Israeli peace dialogue, and I commended her after the fact because she didn't bring righteous anger to it. She just wanted to voice the fact that people can sit across from each other, and I said, that's good job. This is what you should do, and don't fly off the handle and start saying war crimes. So that's my goal,
brother. I'll just end with this. You're a testament of how debate should happen and can happen, and I love the Joe Torre method of I've got to focus on one run at a time. That is great.
I really think that's the best story I've ever heard of the Yankees. That was when they were down, 3-1 versus Atlanta. And he was trying to motivate the gang. And they're like, you know what? We're getting blown out. Just give me one. And then somehow they won the game.
Well, for a Cleveland fan, that's the only good story that has ever come out of the Yankees. So thanks for sharing, brother. I'm always praying for you.
Thanks, Dean. I appreciate the prayers.
Andre, by any chance, have you tracked down the link to that debate clip?
Which debate clip?
The TRT. You said you were doing a TRT debate.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. That actually went live the same day. It's on the playlist of my YouTube. It's not on my YouTube channel because they posted it themselves. I'm going to share it right now.
Do you have to update that list manually, or do you have like a bunch of interns that do that for you, Andre?
Interns? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I just shared the clip of Newsmakers.
Pretty good. I will check that out.
I just got a couple of punches in at the end because mostly I was put on with a Russian person from Moscow, St. Petersburg, and then this new Republican guy I hadn't heard from before who was trying to explain to me how the United States basically has no weapons. So
okay,
whatever will we do when the Canadians attack us?
Folks, for a little lighter topic here, this is from rollingstone.com. Politics, not performance, killed the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Yes, the long reign of late night has been coming to a slow end due to the internet, but don't be fooled. There's much more than money at the root of this show's demise. This is by Alan Steppenwall. I don't know. I stopped listening to Colbert a long time ago. Probably not surprised, right, given my viewpoints. Peter, what do you have to say on this matter?
Oh man, these are such blasts from the past. I used to be such a, it's so funny to think about now because I barely watch anything, but I used to be such a massive pop culture junkie and I worked in the entertainment industry. I used to read Alan Sepinwall like and listen to his podcast every week. Um, Look, the ostensible idea, I would imagine, I would have to read the article, but what I'm guessing that he's saying is that Colbert getting canceled is due to the fact that Viacom, or like which owns CBS and Paramount and all these other is on the verge of being sold to a group led by David Ellison, son of Larry Ellison, the Oracle super multi-billionaire. And David, both of Larry's kids have had careers as Hollywood producers. David has been more successful lately. The daughter Megan, she did a lot of Oscar nominated movies about 10 years or so ago. Like she did The Master, the Paul Thomas Anderson film, and Zero Dark 30, and I think Her was another, Annapurna, that was her company. David founded a company called Skydance, which is a lot more focused on commercial films. Like they do the Mission Impossible movies now. Anyway, the idea is that they're doing these things to appease Trump so that the FCC will allow the merger, the acquisition. But Colbert, if you look at the ratings, like Colbert's ratings have been going down for years, like and his, at least that was what, and the I think that the cultural relevance was just not there. I mean, I don't think that even like, I mean, again, I'm maybe not the best person to ask because I don't pay very much attention to pop culture, but I think I pay enough to know like that even in sort of like resistance liberal culture, like, sort of pop culture, Colbert has kind of lost his relevance. So, um, I don't have the Nielsen data in front of me for however accurate Nielsen data is, but I think that this was, and also it's notable, the Ellisons have not actually taken over management of the company yet. So this would be a decision made by the current leadership still under the ownership of Sherry Redstone, the current owner. So I could be wrong, but there you go.
Thank you for that, Peter. Andre?
Yeah, hold on. Let me just post the ratings. I think I did, not sure. In essence, Stephen Colbert is still the top late night show. He trounces his competition regularly. There's nobody else who's taken a lead above him. And he even increased in the youth demographic in the first quarter of this year. So it's questionable why you would, that's why people are questioning why you're canceling this show as opposed to all the other shows, which are still locked in for a long time. So it's clear Disney understands that Jimmy Kimmel is still a benefit for them because they can put up their corporate movie people and TV people on his show on a regular basis as the first runs. It's LA based, New York, Colbert is New York based. I don't think there's a good argument. They just canceled their follow-up show, the Taylor Tomlinson show 2 months ago. So they won't have a 12:30 show already. And so CBS is going to be sold as something with less primetime shows. They have a decent stable of syndicated shows from their studios that they sell to other networks. They have their nightly news division. It seems like they're devaluing CBS to get this deal through. But also, I can't imagine what people's reaction would be where, Sean Hannity has to be fired so we can do a consolidation with Fox News to another corporate conglomerate. Also, the fact that we're just letting corporate conglomerates tell us what can and can't be on TV. So I think there's a healthy respect that we should have for people having an uproar about this, and not just, clap along like seals when somebody tells us that, Colbert is just not popular anymore. It's a smaller than it used to be, smaller than Carson, smaller than Element. Absolutely, we're diversifying as a consumer base what we're taking in, but still, he's the top guy. So the arguments don't really fly that of everybody you're going to cancel him. And so people have a right to ask, why exactly did this happen, especially right after the 60 Minutes event.
Right. I was going to say burn it all down, but maybe not. Jen from Oklahoma.
So there's, certainly with anything on air, you can make a direct connection between your audience and how much money you can make. And one of the reasons all of the late night shows don't have anywhere near the, let's just say the audience that they may have formerly had, 25, 30 years ago. One is there's just so much more competition now. That's between cable and everything else. There's just a lot more options for people. But the other thing is when you essentially cut out 50% of your potential audience just based on how you're going to run your shows. I mean, Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, David Letterman, they made fun of every politician. They were on air fairly equal opportunity, either jokes or sarcasm or biting commentary, whatever, about kind of whoever was running for a particular race or whoever was in office. And it wasn't really one-sided. But, I just feel like, for me, they lost me, well over 10, 15 years ago. But I think it all comes down to, money. If you're going to go in a different direction so that you can, you have to be able to focus on getting a larger piece of the pie while that market is shrinking. And I think they're trying to show that the CBS can make that happen and make it a more viable product. So,
thank you for that, Jen. ML?
Yeah, I want to say that it really doesn't have to do with politics. I think that doesn't help. I'm not saying that isn't a significant thing to discuss or whatever, but really what this is a business thing. And case in point, the last decade, network TV and cable has been on the decline. That is patently true. It's actually been true probably for a very long time. I'm not sure if people understand, but in 2023 or excuse me, 2024, by 2024, only 3 of the big cable networks averaged more than 1 million viewers in prime time. That was Fox News, ESPN, and MSNBC. And that is a significant decline from the average primetime audience of 2+ million viewers in 2023. So we're seeing this stair step down as goes. So Colbert, maybe he got too political. Like I think he probably did. He is still entertaining, but you got to make people laugh. And at the end of the day, whether it's a business deal or whatever, whether it's legit or not, they kind of did a soft cancel on it, really. They didn't say if it was really, truly bad, they would have ended it and killed everybody's contracts, period. They didn't do that. They're gracefully retiring the late night show, which started in '93 with Dave Letterman. And that's kind of like a way for him to kind of go away and maybe he'll find something else. He will. But I think this is we're seeing the very end of the rainbow as far as it goes for this type of entertainment medium and the way that shows are packaged and put together and stuff. So it is a business decision, absolutely. The culture wars on top of it. Maybe if we were in an upside down world then it was the other way around, like where it was just all right-wing things on late night show, I'm sure we would see a similar thing. I mean, it would be a completely different, strange looking world, but I think these companies that they are so far apart from the talent, and the movie star actually has died, really. The old school movie star, like where they would come out on the red carpet and do all these promos and stuff, that kind of goes on a little bit. Universal's very good about that. Disney, that side, they have their own kind of money printing machine, so they don't have to do that as much. And they have all these large franchises that create their own positive and negative attention no matter where you step in on and see something. But I think this is just kind of the end of an era, or the finalization of that era as we move on to the next thing. The whole fact of two-way filling in that gap, what we're doing fills in that gap. There's a whole bunch of other things that fill in that gap for people, and there's so many other things that compete for the attention economy for fractionalization of all these things. There's video games, there's card top or tabletop games, there's all kinds of things that you can get into that are unique to you or that you want to drill into, it's quite remarkable where we're at. But I think I think politics have a little bit to do with it, but I don't think that's the end all be all. It's just the overall thing is the ratings suck. They are nowhere near as what they were like in, say 2005 versus 2025. And I don't think that should come as a surprise to anybody because all these things move on and move forward over time. It just sucks to see such an iconic show kind of, maybe they'll bring it back or something. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah.
I'm going to call up RFK and tell him on behalf of Maha, just no TV after 9. Folks need to go to bed. What are you guys doing up so late? Shamsel. We would lose Shamsel if that happened. Shamsel, your hand up.
Stay on.
Shamsel's he's texting business deals.
No. I thought you were gonna call Andre or Josh first because I raised my hand late.
Oh, well, that's how it showed up here. Andre? I'll go to Andre then.
Yeah, just following up. Again, the ratings aren't showing that Stephen Colbert had a more rapid decline than anybody else. So again, it's the question of why this show is the first one to drop, and it's already happened with 60 Minutes saying that they don't have independent editorial control. So that's two marks against it, which is why people are going to question it. As far as turning off half their audience, I mean, that's where people are. I mean, I don't feel he's completely done that because clearly he's still raking in 2 million viewers. I don't like Greg Gutfeld is not for 50% or more of the country either, right? It's a specific viewpoint that people are tuning into some of these shows. So why is it good for conservative media to turn off people, but not Stephen Colbert? And Stephen Colbert makes fun of Hakeem Jeffries. He makes fun of people as well. I know I'm not going to say that he's a 50-50 guy, but we can't say that he doesn't make fun of Biden slipping or Bernie Sanders saying something or making fun of the entire New York City mayoral race and all the crazy people there, which were all Democrats. So I think is he a Democratic version of, I can't even think of I keep thinking of Greg Gutfeld, but I can't really watch that guy. So I find it, again, I'll just go back. I find it weird that after 60 Minutes, they went ahead with this, but it's in my mind, it's clear that something is happening with CBS where it's not going to be what CBS used to be, whether that's just no late night or something, but it's clearly going to be a diminished network compared to what NBC with Comcast and what ABC with Disney is able to do. So we'll just go down one network maybe in terms of how big a network it's going to be.
Okay, all right, Shamsel, did you want to?
Yeah. Okay. I'm with ML on this one. To me, I look at it purely. It's a business decision. It's a cost and returns situation. I mean, what has happened when I looked at the entertainment industry in the US? It's like a corporate. It's really morphed into corporate big business, and corporate big business. It's almost like a government-linked company, or in China they would call it an SOE, state-owned entity. So basically, you can only go so long in terms of subsidizing your bureaucracy and losing money, and your cost is going up, and your consumer, which is your audience, gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I did a quick check. For example, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Letterman in his heydays was doing like 19 million viewers, you know, at one his peak show. I mean, and Colbert is doing 2 million. How much are you paying him? You know, how much is the production cost? And the problem with corporations of this size, the overhead cost, which has nothing to do with the production, is tacked onto it, and it is probably double the cost of production alone. So actually, the business model of the entertainment industry in the US right now, as far as big corporations, has really gone down the drain, if you ask me. And I've been why this interests me so much, because I'm such a movie and TV nerd. I love my movies, and I have not been able. The last movie I watched after Dune and Dead Reckoning was F1, and it was fantastic. But you're gonna kill cinema. That's all people like me are gonna go and watch. So it's the same thing happening in TV. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Shamsul. Dean from Ohio.
Man, I said I wasn't going to say anything, and you pull me back in. I think you're the closest analogy that you can make is it's going to go programming. I think we're already there to a certain degree, is going to go the way of newsprint and magazines. It's going to get very much more segmented down to where you are purchasing your the properties that most align with you. I would argue in late night that the guy on Fox News that Andre mentioned was a reaction. Gutfield, right. That dude getting his show was a reaction to a sea of sameness in the from ABC, NBC, CBS, but rightfully so. That you can't, at some point, you can't really blame Colbert for leaning into. I mean, his ratings, if you guys remember, and maybe somebody said this, his ratings were terrible in his first year or two, whatever it was, and then Trump came on the scene, and then Colbert took the veil away, and he just leaned into it. I don't blame him. I mean, but I think overall that it's very much just the market as a whole has been very much more segmented, and you're going to be able to pick up exactly what you want. This is my biggest fear with the two-way network. I think someone is going to sit. Well, two things are going to happen. One, they're going to finally figure out how to engage the community along with the live programming that they have, and then two, somebody's going to buy it from Mark and his investors and roll it up and then corporatize it, which, God, I hope that's not the case. And then we're going to get something else. Hopefully we're at the beginning of something that is going to be completely different and stay different for the long time coming.
Yes, thank you for that, Dean. We hope for that vision as well. Folks, please hang out with us on Zoom here. It's a Friday. Chill with us, okay? But we're going to cut the live to stick within our hour format because the upper-ups tell me that's the thing to do. So hang tight.
Sorry if we cut anyone off, but that's a wrap. Remember, you can catch us live Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern. It's your chance to join the conversation and have your voice heard. Just check the link in the description or visit americastalk.show. Together, through the free exchange of ideas, we can truly make America great again. Don't miss out. Tune in and be part of the dialogue.